Hello everyone, it's Josh here. I'd like to make this video to talk about light again, but this one's different. Um, as I made a couple videos yesterday about light, different forms of light, it got me really thinking about how our visual perception seems to be so solid to us. The only way that we know that something exists other than to feel it is to see it or smell it. But let's say I'm looking at a speaker here. I could feel and probably assume what it felt like, but I couldn't necessarily see the colors in it. By seeing things, it allows us to say, yes, the speaker's brown, it has this many components to it. Our visual cues are so important to us because we trust in them so much, you know. The old saying, you got to see it to believe it. So, in that sense, I thought about visible light and how the only reason that our eyes see this light is because it helps us to get around, obviously, to see where we're going. But why do we not see UV or infrared when other animals do? It's because it would confuse our senses. We need to be able to see in daylight to be able to understand the things around us. That's just what humans see. So, that sight that we're basing as being truth, that we know is there, is based on light waves bouncing off of the objects and interacting with the electrons in that object. Now, I started thinking about the other frequencies of light, such as, perhaps radio waves or even up to gamma rays. Now, they talk about the idea of God, if you will, as being light, or people talk about light beings, light messengers, on and on and on. But what this means to me really is that, before I get too carried away, I want to give you an example of what I'm talking about. There are many forms of light. The light that's entering our eyes allows our brain to decode what we see and to feel pretty strong about that. There's other light. Let's take radiation, for example. Now, radiation enters your body and it causes, let's say, cancer. Why? It's because it programs the cells to basically destroy themselves. Let's just put it this way. It throws off the body's program, so it doesn't know how to handle its own cells. As all the cells are interconnected in one big system, one can't just say, well, it just damages a few cells, because the cells all communicate with each other. So what it does is it damages the whole of the body, the whole of the energy field, if you will. This is just a theory here, but now what about other waves of light that come into our minds? We have the biophotons, the way that our cells interact with light. When people talk about, opening the crown chakra, to me that the connection that means to me is that you are tuning your light or your wavelength to receive this particular universal light, I guess. However it works, I don't know. But the ultimate point here that I'm trying to make is that if we can trust our vision, because it's our brain is receiving light signals and we're decoding that with our minds. Why is it so hard for us to grasp the fact that our intuition, that certain feelings and vibes and ideas that we may have perhaps could be carried on light as well? Different wavelengths, different frequencies. We know the mind can be controlled to an extent by using, extremely low frequency waves. They can affect your mood, your behavior, make you grumpy, all types of different things. There's a lot of work to be done in this field, but unfortunately the people trying to control the masses are the ones that have the money to do the research. But so we've got these low frequency waves which affect your behavior. We've got high frequency waves which affect your cellular, down in the cellular level. And what about the waves that we can't measure? What about the waves that we don't even know about? subatomic waves, or basically this would be this energy force that, I guess if I could try to put it bluntly, you get a sign, you get an idea or a communication with something outside of yourself, and you have to question whether or not it's real or it's just your mind playing tricks on you. You could do the same thing with the eyes. And people see things all the time that aren't there. If you've ever played a video game, let's say for a few days, and then you go outside, you'll start to see characters maybe from that video game in trees or on the street in the bushes. It's one of those things that your mind is in a particular way of thinking, so you're bound to see those particular things. So you're opening up to these different ideas, and when your mind is open to receiving the universal mind, I guess, you're tuning your frequency to that frequency, or your wavelength to that wavelength, and it's all light. Everything's light. So I hear people talking about light, but I want to understand how it works, and I still don't know. I may never know, but the biggest question, and what I'm really trying to get across here, is if we can trust our visual senses, how much can we trust our intuitive senses? And is our intuition caused by that same force of energy, light, some form of light? I guess I can't call it light. I have to call it I have to call it energy, because light as we see it is only visible, the visible spectrum to us. So we're receiving energy signals constantly. The more we work on distinguishing that, I made a video yesterday where I explained that almost a little bit of time left, where I was saying how when a person who's been blind all their life has surgery, often they still can't see. It's not because their eyes can't see what's around them. It's because their brain can't make sense of what they're receiving, the information. Likewise, a person who spends a lifetime practicing meditation and connection with the ethereal is more likely to just be used to having experiences like that. It just becomes second nature to just feel your way through life. To a person who maybe just discovered things, it may be harder. So we're constantly tuning our bodies and our minds into the world around us as best we can. And I think that understanding these light waves, or rather, more like in the radiation area or the gamma rays, how do these things affect us? And can this put an image in our minds, just like the visual cues put an image on our minds? Yes, it can. It has. I've seen this architecture of society through these images, but they're not visual images. And anybody who's had this experience knows what I mean. It's almost like a satori, this small awakening where you see the world around you for what it really is all at once. But it's not a visual thing. It's just a feeling. And that may very well be light mapping these ideas upon our minds. The interconnected photon world where we're all exchanging light. It sounds cheesy as hell, but it's the reality of what's going on. Auras can be measured now, and we know that we affect each other. So, enough we can set this idea that everything's pseudoscience behind and say, okay, so how do we move forward with the fact that these things are actually turning out to be true? So, time will tell. Everybody have a great day.